This is the Reviewing Network Live, a weekly stream of consciousness recording session where I sit back with you folks out there, talk about some of the big news stories from the past week, and some other things I found that might be of amusement to you out there. I think you might get a kick out of it. Now, these are more like audio podcasts and are much longer than my usual videos and are also, for the most part, unedited and will contain some foul language. So, if you're easily offended by that, I advise you to maybe step back a bit, maybe go somewhere else. But hey, if you're up to the challenge, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks. And for the 104th time ever, we are live from the Reviewing Network studios. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Reviewing Network Live, as we have here our second season finale. We're wrapping up our second complete year of bringing you this lovely, lovely show that we call the Reviewing Network Live. And we have a couple news stories to talk about this week, and a couple of reviews to talk about. I played Madden 26 for the first time this weekend. And I don't usually do video game reviews, but I have to give my thoughts on the game because, yeah, there's some stuff we need to talk about with that one. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I finally sat down and watched the infamous Ice Cube star War of the Worlds. And let me just say that Ice Cube has had a pretty bad month because not only was he starring in that terrible movie, he was also starring in a really bland, unbelievably pointless commercial for, was it Minecraft or Roblox? I think it was Minecraft, right? It was either Minecraft or Roblox. No, it was Minecraft. Let's just say that the last month has not been very good to Ice Cube. We'll get to that a little bit later on when we talk about War of the Worlds. But we have a couple other news stories as well. But let's get to probably the most interesting thing that happened this entire weekend, and that was the weekend box office, which, of course, is usually what we start off with here. And there's a new number one, and let's just say it is definitely very surprising because this did not have a big advertising push. They put this thing has been available on a certain streamer for the last couple of months now, and yet when it made it to the big screen, it made a huge impact. But we will get to that one in a little bit. But let's talk about the top five in general. And let's start off with the number 5 film from last week, which is The Bad Guys 2, which is still hanging in there, $5.1 million, bringing its 4-week total to $66.2 million domestically. If you count worldwide numbers, it's closing in on $150 million worldwide after 4 weeks, in comparison to the first Bad Guys movie after 4 weeks. Where is it? Let's see. So 4 weeks in for The Bad Guys 2, it is actually, I believe, it's now less than $300,000 from where the original Bad Guys was at. So it is picking up steam. It is sticking around long enough. And if it sticks around for a couple more weeks, it could probably surpass the original Bad Guys' $80 million domestic gross. I mean, it's looking like it's going to head into that territory if it keeps this pace up here. And there's no big kids movies coming out now until late next month. I think it's another DreamWorks animated movie. Not even an animated movie, but it's I think it's Gabby's Dollhouse, if I'm not mistaken. The Gabby's Dollhouse movie, which I think comes out on the 26th, I believe. I don't know if there's anything else coming before that for kids, but Bad Guys 2 is kind of the big family kids draw right now. Well, that and also the number 3 film, but we'll get to that in just a second. But the number 4 film, The Fantastic Four: First Steps, still hanging in there. $5.9 million this weekend, dropping 34% from last week, bringing its 5-week total now to $257.3 million domestically. If you include worldwide numbers, it's at $490 million, closing in on $500 million worldwide. For the first time since 2011, we're not going to have a superhero movie making $1 billion this year, which it's disappointing, but it's been the big news story all over, and it's just kind of like, okay, so what? I mean, it's not like the superhero movies that have come out this year have been terrible. Not really, no. Captain America: Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Superman, and now Fantastic Four: First Steps. The 4 films we've had this year have not been bad movies overall. It's just some could say it's superhero fatigue. I don't know. I don't think it's anything really that important overall. And they're gonna get it back in the next year with Avengers, Doomsday, and Spider-Man coming out. So yeah, they'll be fine with that. But hey, good to see Fantastic Four sticking around and doing very well. I mean, it is still doing much better business than I think people are letting on. But speaking of movies that are doing better business than they're letting on, number 3 this week, Freakier Friday, which, if you want to talk about freaky, talk about the advertising campaign move by Disney this week. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'd like to welcome you from that rock you've been hiding under for the last couple of weeks. Have you been enjoying how the world has gone since then? But I digress. Freakier Friday, though, $9.2 million, 35.6% drop-off from last week, $70.5 million domestically. If you count the worldwide numbers, it's at $113 million domestically. And if you want to go back to 2003 and see what the third weekend of Freaky Friday was back then, I think it was actually the same weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was, actually. That's kind of interesting. $74 million after 3 weeks for that. So it's still coming in relatively smaller than the original Freaky Friday did, but a good business overall for a movie that I thought was absolutely unnecessary. But hey, at least it's getting the buzz online because of Jamie Lee Curtis's gigantic rack. I mean, when I saw Disney put that ad out there, I thought to myself, there's no way that they did that. That has to be like from another company or something like that. But nope, that was definitely them, and the internet went abuzz, and everyone kind of on there was just like, oh my god, Jamie Lee Curtis is still fucking hot. I mean, that's pretty much what everyone's reaction to the whole thing. It's just like, yeah, I knew that when I watched Trading Places as a kid in the 90s on Comedy Central and True Lies on TV. So yeah, I knew that all along. Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis is still pretty hot after all these years, but hey, whatever is bringing people to the movie theaters, I guess you could say that. But let's get to number 2 this week, though. The number one movie from the last 2 weeks, which I thought was going to be the number 1 movie for a little bit, but as we're going to talk about here, there's a new number 1, and that we'll get to that in a minute, though. Number 2, though, is Weapons, which still hanging in there and actually gained some theaters after 3 weeks, which usually a movie like that does not do, but Weapons did just that, $15.6 million, dropping only 36% from last week. $115.8 million. 3 weeks, it's done very well. And closing in on $200 million worldwide. So another big horror hit for Warner Brothers this year. You know, say what you will about their bad business practices, they have had a banner year in general. And it will probably continue in a couple of weeks with The Conjuring Last Rites. I mean, it says a lot when I'm watching stuff on FXX and ESPN, which FXX very rarely has movie promotions on there, except for Disney movies, but they're even showing like stuff for The Conjuring Last Rites. So, I mean, maybe this is a sign that movie marketing is coming back into play here. But yeah, Weapons should have been the number 1 movie this week, but then number 1 this week. This was kind of something that came out of nowhere. I mean, they had said that they were going to release this movie into theaters, even though this had been out for a couple of weeks now, but a couple months now actually. But the movie I'm talking about is, of course, K-Pop Demon Hunters. And K-Pop Demon Hunters, this movie was originally a Sony Pictures Animation release, and if you don't know what it is, it's the story of a K-pop girl group called Huntrix, who lead double lives as demon hunters as they face off a rival boy band, the Saja Boys, whose members are secretly demons. And the film, like I said, this film has been out on Netflix now for a couple of months now. I mean, it came out on June 20th. And, this thing has been a big hit on Netflix. It was one of the biggest streaming hits they've ever had. And so someone decided to go ahead and put this movie out in theaters. They put out the sing-along version of this. And it's interesting for this because Netflix is not putting out reported grosses. However, projections from the rival studios and exhibitors would put ticket sales ahead of stuff like Weapons, which was enough to claim first place. That was from Rebecca Rubin for Variety, which, I mean, it was something that really kind of took everyone by surprise. And some places aren't even saying that this is the number 1 movie, but Box Office Mojo is reporting that it is indeed the number 1 movie at the box office, and it brought in $18 million for a film that had little to no advertising on television, and was a movie that was already available on Netflix for the last 2 months, and yet people came out in droves to see this movie. If you go on social media, there's been a lot of videos of people taking videos of the sing-alongs in there, and this is the anti-chicken jockey from a Minecraft movie. This is what a movie-going experience should be like. And yeah, it looks pretty impressive. I've yet to see the movie, unfortunately. I haven't watched on Netflix yet. It's just too many things going on with my schedule overall. But, I mean, talk about something that was really unexpected overall. And here's the funny thing about this, is that this sing-along version that's playing in theaters right now is going to come out on Netflix tomorrow, which by the time you hear this will be today, on August 25th of 2025. So, yeah, just like I said, it's something that it's already available on Netflix as it is. The sing-along version is already there as well. This is the biggest animated hit that Netflix has had, and I love how somebody said on Puck when they talked about how this did like, Tom Rothman, the head of Sony, is going to be kicking himself over for this one, and I think a lot of people will be kicking themselves over for this one, for not getting the buzz out there for this, and I mean, for not putting this out in theaters straightforward. And hopefully this will be the sign that Netflix jumps into more releasing of the animated movies out there. I mean, there's so many great animated movies they've done that deserve a theatrical release. Like, I would pay good hard money to see Klaus on the big screen this holiday season, if that's even possible. They would do that, but I'm going to try to check this out at some point. I have to get my schedule is very busy. I've got other things to do. I had a toy show today, so I haven't had the time to go out and watch this movie in general. So at some point I'll get to it, though. But take a sip of my drink here. But that was not the big new release that everyone was expecting to hear about. There's a couple of other releases that came out that did not do the best business overall. One of the big ones was Ethan Coen's latest film, that is Honey Don't, which stars Margaret Qualley, and the follow-up to his Driveway Dolls, which was definitely one of my favorite movies from last year. It's described as the second in a lesbian B-movie trilogy written by Ethan Coen and also Trisha Cook. And if you don't know the story of this, it's essentially a crime caper, a dark comedy about small-time private investigator Honey O'Donoghue, played by Margaret Qualley, who delves into a series of strange deaths tied to a mysterious church, where the pastor is played by Chris Evans. You also have Aubrey Plaza and Charlie Day. The cast overall seems great, but reviews of this have not been strong overall. But then again, the reviews for Driveway Dolls weren't strong either, but that movie was still a ton of fun. I really enjoyed the hell out of that. But actually, this did a little bit better than Driveway Dolls did, because Driveway Dolls was not the big hit last year. I mean, it brought in it opened to about $2.4 million, and this opened up to about $2.9 million. This has a bigger budget, though, than Driveway Dolls does, so $20 million, which probably means that it won't make its money back at the box office in general, but I really don't think they were expecting a whole lot from it in general, because it only opened up in about 1,300 theaters. But I still want to see the movie. I actually like the Driveway Dolls a lot, so I'm really curious to see what this film looks like. Because, I mean, I love the cast in this movie. I love the Coen brothers. So yeah, even if it's one Coen brother, it's still got to be worth a watch at least. But one release I did see a lot of advertising for was Relay, which I know nothing about. But as you look at the plot here for this movie, the plot, come on, upload. There we go. The plot of this is that a broker of lucrative payoffs between corrupt corporations and the individuals who threaten them breaks his own rules when a new client seeks his protection to stay. Excuse me. There you go. That's probably the first burp I've ever had on this show. But anyway, let me start this again. A broker of lucrative payoffs between corporations and the individuals who threaten them breaks his own rules while a new client seeks his protection to stay alive. So yeah, I knew nothing about this movie. It's been advertised a couple of times on ESPN, but I mean, got a good cast: Riz Ahmed, Lily James, Sam Worthington, Willa Fitzgerald, Victor Garber. So it has a decent cast overall. Didn't get bad reviews either. It got a 76 on Rotten Tomatoes, 68 out of 100 on Metacritic, which is not bad overall. So who knows? This might actually be one of the few decent Sam Worthington movies he's ever made. But that was one that a lot of people that was a lot of advertising for. And then you have Ron Howard's latest film, which was Eden, which is the second film starring Sydney Sweeney that came out in the last week, since last week Americana came out. So based on a factual account of a group of outsiders who settle on a remote island only to discover their greatest threat isn't the brutal crime or deadly wildfire, but each other. And I don't think the buzz on this was all that high in general, even though it does carry on a $50 million budget, and it has an Academy Award-winning director in Ron Howard, and the cast also includes Jude Law, Ana de Armas, Vanessa Kirby, Daniel Bruno, Richard Roxburgh. So there are some notable names in here. And again, the film didn't get really bad reviews. It just kind of just got mixed reviews in general, and it just looked like a film that was kind of come and go. And it was released by Lionsgate. I don't know what it's like. Lionsgate's strategy overall has not been very strong so far with what they've been doing in the last couple of years, and this just feels like a move where it should have been like, there should have been something more to this. I mean, a movie directed by Ron Howard should not be making a little minuscule money like it is doing here. But yeah, so overall, slim pickings right now at the box office, with K-pop Demon Hunters being the one thing that's been like, nobody really expected to see that doing as well as it did, but next week doesn't seem like it's going to be anything too significant either. So I'm curious about what they're going to do with K-pop Demon Hunters. Do they continue keeping it in theaters, or do they say it's a one-time thing? The other thing I should bring up here, because this was kind of interesting, that what they did here was that they re-released the biggest animated hit of the year right now with Niza 2, and they re-released this with a new dubbed version that includes Michelle Yeoh as one of the lead of the dubbed casting of that, and it didn't do the best business overall. They only brought in $1.5 million and brought in $22.4 million domestically. Most people kind of forgot, including myself, that this thing opened up earlier in February. I had no idea. I actually had no idea this actually came out. It was in the top 5 too, so I don't know. I don't know why I didn't catch this one, but yeah, that's another one I've been trying to get a chance to check out at some point. But anyway, what I was saying before is that I really don't know what's going to happen next week, because again, not a whole lot of big new releases for Labor Day weekend. I think the one that could possibly be the big hit overall is probably the re-release of Jaws. I mean, the 50th anniversary of that, even though it's been out in theaters several times beforehand. We also have The Toxic Avenger with Peter Dinklage, which I'm not sure how that's going to do overall. But then again, I think it's the same company that put out Terrifier 3, the Terrifier film, so I think maybe it's got a chance to possibly do good money there. The Roses is probably the one I'm most looking forward to, because I love the original War of the Roses so much, and I think because they are sticking with the R-rated format, and a cast that also includes Benedict Cumberbatch, Olivia Colman, Andy Serkis, Andy Samberg, I'm really excited to see what they do with it. And then I think the other one that you're seeing a lot of previews for are Caught Stealing, the Richard Linklater movie, which I think they had some sneak previews earlier this weekend, but I don't know. To me, I like Darren Aronofsky. Darren Aronofsky's directing that one. I'm getting my directors confused, but I mean, I don't know. It doesn't look like anything too significant to me. But then again, maybe it's just because I'm not a big Austin Butler fan. I didn't like Elvis. I mean, I don't think he's that great of an actor right now, but I mean, this could be good. It could be good, but we'll wait to see what happens. So anyway, that is the weekend box office. So with all that said, let's get to some news stories here. So the new Paramount has been very busy this week. They've had a couple of deals this week that made the news circuits. One of the ones that came out early in the week was the fact that they are in talks with Legendary Pictures for a movie distribution deal. And I didn't know this, but Legendary actually had a deal with Sony, and I didn't know about it. I thought they were still within Warner Brothers, but I digress. Here's the story from The Hollywood Reporter, and it says, the Skydance-owned Paramount continues its breakneck deal-making. A little over a week after taking hold of the studio, the David Ellison-led executive squadron is in talks to make a movie output deal with Legendary Pictures, the producers of the Dune and MonsterVerse movie franchises. Legendary previously had output deals with Warner Brothers and Sony Pictures, with its deal with Sony expiring at the end of last year, and its Warner's deal ending in late 2022. I thought they renegotiated the deal on that front, but I don't know, maybe not. But any deal with Legendary excludes the Godzilla Kong movies as well as the Dune franchises, which lucratively remain parked at Warner's. Its time at Sony wasn't very fruitful. Biblical comedy The Book of Clarence bombed, as did the action comedy The Machine. Still, the company will soon go into production on a new version of Street Fighter for Sony. Despite its lukewarm time at Sony, Legendary still makes hits outside of Dune and MonsterVerse. A Minecraft movie released via Warner's is the year's second biggest Hollywood movie, grossing over $955 million worldwide. A sequel would be at Warner's, which also has the Alejandro Inarritu-directed Tom Cruise movie that it will release. Probably the biggest title that Legendary has is Gundam, the very big-budget adaptation of the Japanese anime and manga centered on mecha warriors. That feature is set to star Sydney Sweeney, who is working very closely with director Jim Mickle on the script, as it aims to go into production next year. It's unclear when the talks for this deal begin. Sources say the deal-making began earlier this spring when Paramount was being run by co-CEO Brian Robbins. If you're Paramount, you need lots of movies and you need them quickly, says one insider commenting on the studio's rebuilding efforts, which is funny because since they made this deal, they've had the pact with UFC with a $7.7 billion deal, and they actually were able to strike another big deal, which I'm going to get to right now. And that is the fact that the guys who gave us Stranger Things are now working with Paramount. This is a story from Deadline Hollywood that says that the new Paramount owned by Skydance has made it official that Stranger Things architects, the Duffer brothers, and their Upside Down Pictures label are officially coming over to the Melrose Avenue lot in a wide-ranging 4-year exclusive deal for feature films, television, and streaming projects. We told you about the news big deal from the David Ellison-led Paramount last week. The big plus here for the Duffers is that now they get to make movies for the big screen. Their new deal at Paramount starts at the end of their current deal with Netflix in April 2026. At the end of their Netflix deal, the Duffers will remain involved in Stranger Things and other existing projects in development at the OTT service. The multiple Emmy-nominated Duffers will write, direct, and produce feature films, TV, and original series for Paramount Pictures, Paramount Television, and Paramount Direct-to-Consumer. Their Upside Down Pictures production company is led by producing partner and president Hilary Levitt. It's no coincidence that the first big deal under the David Ellison-led Paramount is with the Duffers, as the duo had worked with Cindy Holland, Paramount's chair of direct-to-consumer, and Matt Thunell, president of Paramount Television at Netflix. Anything else in particular here? It says here at the end here, new Paramount motion picture heads Dana Goldberg and Josh Greenstein told the press last week that they plan to release 15 to 20 movies annually. Paramount already has production packs for such talents as Ryan Reynolds, John Krasinski, Damien Chazelle, Temple Hill, and Walter Hamada's genre studio 18HZ. And there was one other movie they picked up featuring a former person that worked within Paramount, and that was Trevor Noah. Where is it? Right here. And it says right here that Paramount has acquired The Island, an R-rated comedy feature based on an island idea by former Daily Show host Trevor Noah, enlisting Neighbors scribe Andrew J. Cohen to adapt the screenplay. The Island tells the story of two polar opposites, a successful alpha businesswoman and a hopelessly dedicated male high school teacher who are the sole survivors of a plane crash on a deserted island and must rely on each other to stay alive. Sources say COVID lockdown inspired the idea from Noah. While sources indicate that The Island had been at Paramount for some time, we're told that Cohen only signed on to adapt the script earlier this year. Noah will produce alongside Sanja and Yaman through their Day Zero Productions' first look deal with the studio. So I guess he still has a deal with them, even though he hasn't been on The Daily Show for a couple of years now. So, yeah, 2022 was the last time he was there. But, I mean, it could be interesting overall. This is the guy that also worked on the Neighbors movies, which are really fun movies. They did Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, which was a ton of fun. Another thing that he did that wasn't that great was The House with Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler, in one of the worst years of movies that I've seen in the last 20 years. Which I did a video on that over on the main channel, so go ahead and take a look at that if you can. But Paramount is getting busy pretty quickly, and we may hear more from them sooner rather than later. So, with that said, let us go ahead and move on to the next story. Let's take a trip over to Broken Lizard. And that's the fact that the Super Troopers are coming back, and they're already working on the next movie. This was the big story this week from Deadline. And a sequel they've been talking about for a while now, since Super Troopers 2 came out 7 years ago. It's actually one of the few good comedy sequels coming way past the prime of the original film. But as it says here on Deadline Hollywood, the Vermont State Troopers are back for a third go-around in Searchlight Pictures' Super Troopers 3, with the Broken Lizard gang going behind the camera at the end of this week, so it's pretty much now in production. But the Troops member Jay Chandrasekhar is back to direct, and he'll be reprising his role as Thorny on screen alongside with buds Kevin Heffernan, Steve Levy, Paul Suter, and Eric Stolhansky, who are back in their respective roles of Farva, Mac Foster, and Rabin. Also back are Brian Cox as Captain John O'Hagan, and Marissa Coughlan as Ursula Hanson, who was surprisingly cut from the original movie, the original sequel, Super Troopers 2, but you got some good replacements in there with Manuel Shariki and also Rob Lowe. But excuse me for a second. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with me tonight. I've been burping. My stomach's been acting up. It's not food poisoning, because if it was, I'd be puking right now at this point. But anyway, I'm fine now. I'm sorry about that. But where was I on this article here? But also joining the cast are Oscar winner Nat Faxon, of the way back as Captain Todd Markowski, Chase Crawford as Baker Buchanan, and Andrew Discamus as Coy Burns. So yeah, it's been a couple of years since the last book Super Troopers movie, which, like I said, was actually pretty good. It was actually one of those ones where I did not think it was going to be that good going into it, but I was actually really surprised at how much I actually enjoyed the movie. I actually thought it was one of the better comedy sequels they had done at that point. And so yeah, it kind of gets me a little excited to see what they'll do with a new Super Troopers movie. Hopefully, they'll keep the magic going. And the fact that they're going back, it seems like, to the original cast and crew here from the first movie in general. I mean, it gives me a little bit of excitement to see what they can do with that. So I'm definitely very excited to see what they can do with that film. Really looking forward to checking it out. So with that said, let's go ahead and get to, I believe I have here the last major news story in the world of movies. And as the fact that they are making a movie about Kobe Bryant's life. Sort of. This comes from the Hollywood Reporter, and it says here that a film project centering around NBA superstar Kobe Bryant's journey to the Los Angeles Lakers has landed at Warner Brothers, the Hollywood Reporter has confirmed. Alex Stone and Gavin Johansson penned the spec screenplay for With the Eighth Pick, which follows the high-stakes process that led to Bryant getting drafted into the NBA in 1996. The project was generating high interest from other studios and streamers before Warner stepped in and preemptively to nab it. A director has not yet been attached. With the 8th pick is set to focus on the New Jersey Nets and then general manager John Nash, who held the 8th pick in the draft and considered taking Bryant out of high school. The future Hall of Famer ended up being taken by the Charlotte Hornets with the 13th pick before he was traded to the Lakers, where he will win 5 NBA championships and become an icon of the city. The project is described as having elements of Moneyball, which starred Brad Pitt, The Social Network, and Air, Ben Affleck's Matt Damon starring pick that tracked the beginning of Michael Jordan's now legendary partnership with Nike. With the 8th pick is said to detail the pivotal process during which slightly different decisions could have changed the NBA's future. Producers include Tim and Trevor White for Star Thrower Entertainment and Ryan Stower for Religion of Sports. Also producing is Gotham Chopra, who co-founded Religion of Sports with Tom Brady and Michael Strahan. Bryant was part of the legendary Lakers team that included center Shaquille O'Neal and coach Phil Jackson. Bryant, of course, died in a helicopter crash in 2020 at the age of 41, as did his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna. Son is also writing Netflix's planned John Madden project that hails from Religion of Sports. He is represented by Veer and Lit Agency, and Johansson is represented by Verve Gotham. So it seems like they're doing the same thing with Kobe Bryant that they did for Air with Michael Jordan. It's not really making a biopic about Kobe Bryant, but the big story, a pivotal story in the life of Kobe Bryant in general. And again, Kobe Bryant's one of those guys like Michael Jackson and Michael Jordan that it really feels like you can't really do this in one simple movie. Like, if they ever make the Michael Jordan biopic for real, it should not be one simple movie. It should just be 2 films. Like, do one film about his early years with the Bulls, then do another film about his retirement, and then coming back to the Bills for that second dynasty they had in the 90s. Like, that's my thinking behind it. And also get Spike Lee to direct it, because I feel like Spike Lee's the only one who can make a Michael Jordan biopic like that. But this right here, it could be very interesting to see what you could do with a story like this. There's a lot of things you could do about the story of Kobe Bryant in general, and I think if you do it the same way you did with Air, I think you've got a chance to make something really good out of it. So, again, we'll wait to see what happens on that one, but that's definitely a promising sign going forward for that particular film. So, that's the major movie news updates on films in the works, but let's get to our next story. And I found this kind of interesting here, and it gets me a little bit excited, but there's a little bit of a catch to it. I'll talk about it in just a second. So, it's been a long time since I've been a regular at Best Buy. Like, I don't go to Best Buy as much as I usually do anymore. Ever since they got rid of the physical media, I've only been there more in the last couple of months because that's where I got my PlayStation 5, and I had to go back up there to get the warranty on that. And when there's a shop around, it just does not have the same feeling that it used to back in the day. Like, I used to go in there and go buy all these movies over there, and it's just like, that's where you get the steelbooks, man. Like, the great fun of going into a Best Buy was on Saturday was going in there to see if I could still get the steelbook that I wanted to get my hands on, or the movie I wanted to get my hands on. That was the first thing I would always do when I go up to the mall every week. But ever since they got rid of the movies, it's just been something where it's just like, yeah, it's like it's like there's no real point to go. There's no real point to going anymore. But ever since they got rid of the movies, man. It's the same thing with Target. Like, I used to go to Target all the time, and they sadly got rid of all their movies, and it's just kind of like, why the hell am I going to Target anymore? I mean, you can go in there and see if they got any cool toys or Funko Pops in there, but yeah, I don't like going to the Target as much as I used to. Walmart's the only place I can really go into. That and Barnes & Noble, where I know I can find physical media in there, and maybe someday it'll eventually end up at a half-price books, or a CD warehouse, or the Exchange, or something like that, but the reason why I'm bringing this all up here is because there was something that was going on this week that a lot of people online made notice of. One of the first videos I saw was from Jeff Russo, who makes a ton of great videos online. He had a video talking about, is Best Buy selling Blu-rays again? And the answer to that is yes, but there is a bit of a catch, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about here. I'm going to go to the Best Buy website here and show you what I'm talking about, because yeah, you can buy movies on Best Buy's website. However, there is a catch to this whole thing. So I'm going to go to the movie section here. You're going to take a look at, you're going to see it in a little bit on the camera right here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and show it to you right now. So yeah, there you go. You can actually get some movies on Best Buy's website. And yeah, you can see it's newer movies too. So you got like The Day the Earth Blew Up, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, of course, you got stuff that was there before they got rid of the physical media section, like The Exorcist Believer and Top Gun, the 2-movie collection. But yeah, you look on here, you got stuff like Alien Romulus, which was from last year, excuse me. But then you get like old catalog stuff like Turbo, Star Trek: The Next Generation, Men in Black, Charlie Von Christmas, Deep Blue Sea. So you probably look at this and thinking to yourself, holy crap, they are actually bringing movies back to Best Buy. Saints be praised, hallelujah. And look, there's over 100 pages of this, right? Well, there's a little bit of a catch, and you notice the weird pricings on some of these. Like, Top Gun is $108.06. Why isn't that instead of, like, $108.99? Or why is The Day the Earth Blew Up $28.22? Well, if you click on this, you start to realize that this is not coming from Best Buy themselves. As you can see right here, pickup unavailable from the seller, but you can get it shipped. And look at down here, sold and shipped by Pop Market. So yeah, this is not coming from Best Buy themselves. And as you see right here, Pop Market, we sell fun. Pop Market is your official destination for all things pop culture, showing a wide selection of vinyl records, collectibles, figures, blah 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 blah. So yeah, you start to see here that yeah, that's one of the reasons. That's not coming from Best Buy itself. But let's go to, where's the let's go to, this will load. There we go. Let's go to a newer release. Let's go to Alien Romulus. Let's see where this is coming from. So again, unavailable from the seller for pickup. And again, Pop Market. Actually, let me see. Is this all Pop Market? Let's see the Top Gun one. Actually, $108 for that is not that bad of a deal. I think when it came out, it was like over $150, if I'm not mistaken. I got it for Christmas a couple years ago, so yeah, my computer's kind of slow right now for some reason, but let's go ahead and take a look over here. Yeah, Pop Market too. So I guess maybe these are all Pop Market. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure. Okay, I did find another one here. This is for Adam Sandler's 8 Crazy Nights and Margarita's Video Store, LLC. So, as you can see, there are definitely different providers here, but it looks like it's all mostly Pop Market. Like, it's funny, when I was doing the links on here, and I kept seeing who the sellers was, it always kept coming up like Pop Market, Pop Market. I felt like the dude on South Park, when the kids get all the toilet papers, they're going to go ahead and TP the art teacher's house, and it's just like toilet paper, toilet paper, toilet paper. That was me when I was looking through all this. Just like Pop Market, Pop Market, Pop Market. So yeah, it looks like it's Pop Market, Margarita's Video LLC. What about this one here? Again, Pop Market. So I think Pop Market is the main company that's putting these out here. So essentially, what's going on here is that, yeah, Best Buy is selling Blu-rays, but they're selling them through different store providers. Like, it's not simply just from these specific companies in general. These are coming from various companies, these little stores in general, which It's kind of a bummer because essentially that means that these movies are probably never going to be in Best Buy stores ever again. But with all that said, though, it's at least good to see that Best Buy is somewhat bringing back physical media, because I really do think physical media was one of their biggest sellers, and when they got rid of that, I think they really did lose a chunk of their business on that front there. Which is funny because GameStop brought back physical media not too long ago. I've been into like 5 different GameStops ever since then. I've yet to find one single store in a GameStop store that sells physical media. So, but yeah, as somebody who likes to go to Best Buy and used to like going to Best Buy and grabbing these movies in general, it was really something where I was just kind of like, I was so bummed when that happened. But it's cool to see them experimenting with the idea of bringing movies back to their stores here in general. And you can still get movies on Target's website, so you just can't get them in the stores anymore. So if they did something like this, where you have to go online and get the movies, I would be more than okay to do it. I would gladly come back to Best Buy more than I usually would if they would sell the movies online. But the fact that they got rid of them for the longest time, like, it's ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense why they did that, but I am glad to see that Best Buy is testing this out for potentially giving this back, getting these back in stock in their stores and all that, even if it's through different sellers. But I'm glad to see that they're doing that in general. And like I said, like I've always said, physical media I don't think will ever go away, because yeah, it's great to have a streaming service every once in a while, but at the same time, streaming services are not perfect. There are definitely, the pricing has gotten out of control. You still have trouble watching the movies and TV shows you want to without it still looking very pixelated. Even after all these years, they still haven't really fixed that flaw in general. Plus, they keep taking stuff off of there, and the people that are just like, who needs physical media when I could just watch it every time on my phone? And then when it goes away, it's just like, well, why can't I watch it anymore? I need to find somewhere to get this. So, hopefully this means that we are heading back into the realm of getting physical media back in stores everywhere. Hopefully this is a good sign going forward, and hopefully what Best Buy is doing is a sign that they're more than willing to go back to get putting movies back on the shelves. But I don't think it's going to happen, but just something kind of interesting to think about going forward into the future. So anyway, with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next thing I want to cover here, and that is Madden 26. So on Friday, I finally got my copy of Madden 26, and I specifically got the PlayStation 5 so I can play that in College Football 26 as well. And I will say this for College Football 26, it was hard for me to get into it at first because I didn't know about this new system that they had in terms of like, you have to be specifically accurate with your kicking, which I've played Madden for years now, and they have not. They didn't. You have to be accurate on there, but they make it easy for you to understand where you're going with it, understand how far you're supposed to kick it in general, and as long as you're not within a specific area outside of the ring that you're supposed to be at, it will usually go in. And one of the biggest flaws I had with College Football 26 was the fact that the kicking feature on there is pretty terrible because, of course, college football kickers don't just go straight in the middle. Sometimes you have to go to the right, sometimes to the left, which I think they do it in the NFL too, but it's noticeable definitely in college football. And you have to be specifically on the nose with your kicking, because if you kick it the wrong way, even if you have it right in dead center and that arrow is not going to a point where it's going over the top, it's gonna be wide left, wide right, and I've had that happen to me so many times on that game. I think I've gotten the gist of how to make it how to make that work in general in the College Football 26 game, so that's not been a big problem for me in more recent playings of that game. But when it got started, yeah, that was really something that really did kind of bug me, and along with a couple of other things, specifically the idea of you don't have a specific amount of time to really throw the ball downfield, because as soon as you try to throw the ball, somebody's already coming to get you. And even if you pick a pass play on College Football 26, you sometimes get a running play. So it's like, that's not what I picked. And it was something that kind of bugged me at first, but in the month that I've had since I've had to play it, I have gotten better at it. And in College Football 26, that's fine and all. So I finally got to Madden 26 this past week on Friday, and I got to play a little bit. Did pretty good in my first game overall with the preseason Steelers-Jaguars game, but once I got to the second game, that's when that shit got incredibly tricky. Like, for some reason, like nothing was just working. Like the kicking on that game, the kicking somehow got worse in that game on college football because they took the college football method in those games and put it into Madden 26, and it's just kind of like, why would you do that? Like, I know you have to make changes to up the game a little bit here, but I'm sorry, it really is annoying, and it maybe is. I got frustrated a couple times playing this game pretty quickly, not just because of that, but because of the many times I've tried to play as quarterback, and I keep throwing picks for no reason whatsoever. Like, it's just like it's a new system that I'm not adjusted to very well yet. But again, I've only had this PlayStation 5 for about a month now, which thank God I got it because they just raised the prices on those this week. So I feel sorry for those of you out there that didn't get a chance to get it before they upped the price on everything. But yeah, like I said, overall, I think yeah, there's some bugs in the game that are really troubling at first, but like I said, I've only had the PlayStation 5 now for about a month, and I'm still getting adjusted to the higher quality and the system in general, which I think the graphics overall do look very impressive. I love the score bug they throw in there. I love how there is an option for different announcers. It's not just the same old Brandon Gott and Charles Davis ones like it was on the original Madden games, but there's also Mike Tirico and Greg Olson and Kate Smith and Brock Hurd, and Scott Hansen doing the halftime thing. I think it's pretty fun. And it is actually cool when you get to the weekly reports and all that. They show you highlights from the other games from the specific week. So there are things I like about Madden 26, but again, it's just me getting adjusted to that way of how the system works here and how they're using the system in general with College Football 26. Regardless, it's still kind of a vast improvement on the previous Madden games overall, at least for me, because mostly I haven't been playing the ones on PS5 beforehand. This is my first time on that system, and having a little bit of a rough start at first, but I'll get adjusted to it as time goes on. So, well, not necessarily a review, but my overall first thoughts on Madden 26. But let's get to a movie that I can easily review for you, and yeah, it's a movie that I think a lot of people have been talking about, and if you know what it is, then don't be surprised to know what it is I'm about to talk about here. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have now finally seen the infamy that is War of the Worlds. For those of you that have been lucky enough to not have to sit through this abomination, I congratulate you. And again, how's that rock you've been living under for the last couple of months? For the last month or so. But eventually, I did go ahead and watch the movie, and I watched it knowing that, yeah, this was going to be something that was probably going to be a bad movie. I wasn't expecting it to be as bad as people made it out to be, but, oh yeah, it's bad. It's really, really bad. I mean, like I said before, this has been a terrible month for Ice Cube in general, and it's hard not to see why when you have a movie like this. So War of the Worlds, if you don't know what I'm talking about, is of course based off of the H.G. Wells classic story, most notably well done by Orson Welles in the classic radio presentation. And same premise here, a colossal invasion of Earth is coming in this off-kilter tale of the legendary novel of the same name, filled with present-day themes of technology, government surveillance, and privacy. So they've modernized it for a new generation. And yeah, this movie features way too good of a cast for this. You have Ice Cube, you've got Ava Longoria, Clark Gregg, Andrea Savage, Jim Meskimen, famous voice actor, and Devin Bostic, of all people, Roderick from the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies. Yeah, he's growing past the Diary of a Wimpy Kid films. But yeah, this movie is unbelievably bad. This is definitely an example of one of the year's worst movies. One of the worst movies I may have ever seen, because, oh my god, that's how bad this movie is. You want to know how bad this film is? This is a movie that was in development back in the COVID pandemic. And they had this idea of using screen life technology and having it the look of a commercial event film, but at the budget of a contained thriller, which allowed the filmmakers, the actors and crew members, to work in individual workspaces, which was seen as useful regarding the pandemic's impact on the film industry. That was 5 years ago. This thing has been sitting on a shelf at Universal for 5 years. And Amazon Prime looked at this and said, well, come on and bring it over here. We'll release it. What's the worst that can happen? And, oh, God. They didn't know. They didn't know how bad this was. I mean, of course they're going to do it because there's a shit ton of Amazon promotions for this movie. Like, if Amazon was trying to get people to not be scared of the plans potentially for James Bond to be taken over by Amazon, let this set the tone for a potential uncertain future if Amazon gets too heavily involved in the making of the new James Bond movie, because they'll throw as much product placement in that movie as they do in here. But on top of that, the biggest thing that affects this movie overall is Ice Cube's performance in this. And I love Ice Cube. I've always thought he was a great actor. I mean, he's made some of my favorite movies. Friday, Barbershop, so many good movies overall. To see him reducing himself to such a low in this movie is just ridiculous. It's amazing how bad he is in this movie. Like, he is not trying at all. And the problem is, he is trying, but he's trying way too hard. Case in point, one of the line I think is going to stick out for most people when they think of this movie.
And he discovers the terrible truth. You see, Disruptor is actually Jake, his son.
My own son is hacking the government.
Jake?
My own son is hacking the government. Let's just put this aside by the fact that, yeah, this whole thing is being caused by his son hacking the government, but just the performance that Ice Cube gives in this movie, like, he does not feel like he's putting his effort into this at all. Like, this is unbelievably bad. This is one of those movies that I would say, this is a movie that is on the level of a so bad it's good movie. Like, this is a film that I would say to people out there, see this fucking movie. See this movie and be prepared for something that is so terrible. Hell, get drunk before you watch this and you'll have the time of your life. This is the type of movie that people would that this would be seen in a midnight screening somewhere, and people would come in with alcohol, sneaking into the theater, and they'd be having a blast watching this. That's how bad this movie is. This is like Rocky Horror. No, I'm sorry, I'm not even going to put that in there. That's an insult to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. But you get the idea. This is a movie that is so badly done. Just the presentation, the things they try to do in this movie, the way it was shot, the way it was written, the acting overall, it's a mess. It's an ungodly mess of a movie. And yeah, it's one of the worst movies of the year, no question about it, but it is the definition of a so bad it's good movie that you have to see it to believe how bad it really is. I really do think this movie's going to have a life to it afterwards. It's going to have a massive cult following. It's going to have that legacy behind it like The Room has. Like, that's how bad this movie is. It is so over-the-top ridiculous. These actors who have been known time and time again to be better than what they have done are reducing themselves to such this low. Like, this is something where it's just like, it's just something where it just needs to be seen to be believed. I would say, watch this movie, prepare to laugh your ass off, and don't go into it expecting a good movie, because yeah, it's not a good movie at all, but goddamn, it's a fun time overall. One of the worst movies of the year, and yet it's one of the most fun experiences I've had in a long, long time. Yeah, take that for what you will. So that's my thoughts on The War of the Worlds. So with that said, let's go ahead and get to recommendations and get out of this puppy. So the last week of the month actually does have a couple of noteworthy titles of recommendation. The biggest one, I think, the biggest new release, Lilo and Stitch, which sadly does not look like it's going to go ahead and surpass Minecraft movie as the biggest movie of the year, unfortunately. But it is coming out on Blu-ray and 4K this week, and comes out on Disney Plus, I think, the next week. But I do recommend checking it out, because it is definitely one of Disney's best live-action remakes they've ever done. Just a really good movie made by a good director. I had a really good time with it overall. Some changes don't work. There's definitely a lot of changes that do not work, but it's still one of the better live-action remakes they've ever done. No question about it. But one of the other big new releases was Karate Kid Legends, which was fine for what it was, but nothing incredible, nothing amazing, but I mean, it was fun for what it is. It was cool to see two different generations of the Karate Kid coming together to help this new kid out, and I don't think it was a movie that is going to lead to any more sequels down the road, but it's a movie that I'm glad I got to see. I thought it was alright. Definitely could have been a whole lot better overall. In terms of other movies, we have a lot of catalog titles. We got The Conjuring coming out on 4K with a nice looking steelbook in time for the new movie. Woody Allen's Scoop is coming out on Kino Lorber. Arrow Video's putting out Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 2003 remake. The Rundown's coming out on Kino Lorber. Aaron Brockovich is getting a 4K release, one of the best movies from 2000. Some guilty pleasures are coming out this week. Psycho Beach Party with Amy Adams in it, getting a release for its 25th anniversary. But I'm a Cheerleader, starring Natasha Lyonne, getting a release for its 4K debut. What else do we got here? Speaking of so bad they're good movies, Mac and Me is getting a 4K release this week. I think that's an Arrow Video title. I could be wrong on that, but there is a 4K steelbook coming out for Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Get Carter, the original Get Carter, starring Michael Caine's coming out on 4K this week. The Huckleberry Hound Show's coming out on 4K through Warner Archive. So, lots of good titles overall this week in terms of the big last week of the month of August in general, and then of course the next week after that. I don't think there's anything too big coming out the next week after that, and then the week after, and it looks like they're going back to the 2 weeks strategy in terms of big theatrical releases coming out on physical media, but Lilo and Stitch is probably the big recommendation I would have this week in terms of new releases, so take that for what you will. And with all that said, that concludes our second complete year of the Reviewing Network Live, as next week we begin our third season with another special feature-length commentary. As last year I did the Bambi commentary for the new season, and this time around I'm going to do the commentary for another one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies, Space Jam. So we'll do a feature-length commentary on Space Jam. That'll be the main focus of next week's episode. And then, of course, the week after that, the start of the Reviewing Network Live Sunday Night NFL Rewatch, where we'll have the first Sunday night game of the season with the Buffalo Bills hosting the Baltimore Ravens. A big week coming up this week, as I have a lot of videos planned, specifically continuing on with the September videos for September. I've got the first week already up and ready to go. This week, of course, Two Thumbs Up, the last part of the Siskel and Ebert documentary, comes out on Friday, which on Friday, too, there will be a bonus Movie Stop episode over on the main channel, as I'm going out to see the Savannah Bananas at the PNC Park, and that'll be downtown Pittsburgh on that day. And then the next day, I'm back in downtown for the Pit opener. So, pretty busy weekend overall. Pretty busy week overall in general. Going to be a ton of videos here, and I think this week I'm going to start doing the shopping videos that I promised to do as shorts, stuff you can get on my eBay and Mercari store. So I'll try to get some of those out there this week and see how that works out. But yeah, so like I said, busy week for new stuff. So not just here on this channel, but also on the main Reviewing Network channel. So definitely go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button on both channels, and take a look at the last episode we did, and take a look at every episode that we've done so far. And I will see you guys next week to kick off our third year of the Reviewing Network Live. So thanks for watching and listening. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, we are out.